Hello SPL fans, my name is Shroomraver, one of your analysts for the SPL D-League. Yes indeed, it is week 4 and welcome to Heat of the Week, aka the week where all of the 90% accurate moves sat there as a group and decided, you know what, we're just going to miss today. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a week of a competitive Pokemon season from memory where so many of these 90% accurate moves just missed. There were Draco Meteor misses across the board, not to mention a couple of Psycho Boost misses. You know, I've recently been running Tornado Therian and my own Deoxys Speed, so to all of you who missed those moves, those Dracos, those Psycho Boosts, know I see you and I'm with you. And it was a mess. Honestly, it was a mess. But we're not here to go over the misses. We're here to go over the hits. More specifically, those heats, movesets, and mons that really hit hard. And there were a fair few. You know, we're into the mid-season. And like I say, we have seen a fair few coaches start to really stand out in terms of the heat they are bringing. And, you know, we've got a fair few repeat performers coming in this week with a couple of new guys who haven't really shown too much heat yet, but the potential is there. Remember, all of you coaches, I believe in you. I believe in your ability to bring the heat and make these lists. You all have that bubbling within, and I know that you can bring it, and these ones are certainly no exception. So, first off, as ever, let's get into a few honourable mentions before we hit the coveted top 3. And we are starting this week with a couple of sets and mons from the match between Diet Tight and the Minnesota Lycan Wolves versus A12 and the Arkham City Delibirds. One of the big ones I really want to go into here, Diet Tight's Iron Hands, a mon that you wouldn't normally see make the heat sets. It's a fairly common mon to bring a fair few weeks of a league. Don't always see it, however, with Arm Thrust, which is, let's be honest, not a great move. It's a pretty weak, I think, 15 base power, multi-hit move. Reason being that Dai in Mox had run into Sash Pickpocket Weavile just one too many times, with Arm Thrust on Iron Hands being able to power through that, get around any sashes, and just take it out. Unfortunately, it only makes our honourable mentions list this week because Pickpocket Weavile, or indeed Weavile in general, didn't show up for A12. So, unfortunate that we didn't get to see Arm Thrust Iron Hands pop off. We did get to see a little bit more out of Basculegion. Now, this was really bulky, tanked hits, and did get the endgame performance for Dai, but it was Endeavour that we liked it for. Built to try and take on Okidogi. As it was, Okidogi switched out on the Basculegion, going for Endeavour instead into the incoming Toxapex to do about 7 damage. But it was a nice set, and we love seeing those kind of things from Basculegion and Dai in general. But A12 was not to be outdone. Oh no, bringing some heat of his own in the form of Chilling Water Palisand. It's just a mon and a move that you don't see very often individually, let alone together, and genuinely this Palisand was a menace, causing big damage to Landorus Therian and getting huge hits into Greninja on the switch with Earth Power in a really nice move from A12, and it could have done some really nice scouting versus Archaludon, going for the recovery shore up on a predicted Draco Meteor, I imagine, looking for those special attack drops, but what you can't really go for with predictions are the special defense drop from Flash Cannon that Archaludon did end up getting, able to then land a subsequent Draco Meteor, a rarity this week, to take out that Palisand. But it's an unexpected mon with an unexpected move that ended up doing a good amount of work for A12 in that match. And our other honourable mention this week is going to go to Dashing of the Seattle Sigilyphs in his match versus Standard, a regular on these lists, and the Kansas City Curum coming in with Clear Amulet Deoxys defense. I really love seeing Clear Amulet run on Mons against the likes of Petulant. You often see it on those physical attackers versus like an Intimidate core, but here, shown on Deoxy's defense to come in on Petulant parting shotting out, and then getting big damage with Psychic Noise to try and 1v1 it. Unfortunately, that didn't proc in this game, but it's a cool bring that I really enjoyed, and I like seeing Dashing on this side of the honourable mentions. We've seen Dashing go up against a fair few heat sets, and he's caught some pretty bad luck this season as well. So it's nice to see this kind of set being brought at this stage of the season. Would have been nice to see it work. Unfortunately, didn't quite pan out for him. But I love me a Clear Amulet, especially being used in this kind of circumstance. So nicely done there by Dashing. But now it is time to get into my top 3 for this week. And we are going to be starting off with Kirby of the Toronto Rapscores going up against Nova's Bermuda Kecleons. Now, Nova has a very fun team with some very difficult things to break, and not least Terrapagos. Of course, that Terra Shell makes Terrapagos one of the most difficult things to take down, especially if it's coming in on a low health mon to try and, you know, get a rapid spin off, start setting up and do big damage, with a very difficult task of taking it out through the Terra Shell. But there is a way around that. We've seen it run a couple of times in leagues. I've actually run it myself against Terrapagos. Roap Berry, this time on Metagross. So what Roap Berry does is it causes damage once you are hit by a special attack, I believe it is. So we have Metagross coming in with a Roap Berry, predicting special moves on Terrapagos, as you would. Get that Roap Berry to proc, cause the damage to Terrapagos, break the Terra Shell without having to waste a turn doing so. And this actually procced, I believe, on turn 3 of the match, which would have been a really nice boon for Kirby to have really early on in the game, being able to break that Terra Shell on Terrapagos and allow Metagross to really start wearing it down. And what this actually did was put Nova into a bit of a difficult position further on into the game. Nova had brought Healing Wish onto his Ninetales in this match, with the idea of being able to bring back a certain mon, for example maybe an Annihilape or something like that. But with Annihilape having to take repeated hits, and that Terra Shell broken super early, as well as taking some big damage on a number of other mons, that damage into Terrapagos really made Nova think at times, who do I want to bring this into? And it really put him on the back foot a little bit, because you can only Healing Wish up one mon, and he had to try and get that decision right, and the early break of the Terra Shell allowing Terrapagos to take so much damage put him onto the back foot, and certainly made him think really hard about where he was going with the Healing Wish. So Roap Berry Metagross may have gone down in that exchange, but it put in a good amount of work with that set in particular. Moving on to second position on our list, and it is a returning Dapper of the Appalachia Appletons. He has really been putting in a shift this season already in getting big mentions in Heat of the Week, and this is no exception, going up against the Atlanta Talonflames, coached of course by our very own Talon, and this was Keyberry Hatterene. This is a really fun set. Keyberry, of course, it's another one of those damaging activation berries, this time increasing defense by 1.5 with that boost once you're hit by a physical attack. Now, Dapper thought this through very well indeed. All the physical threats on Talon's side, apart from Iron Boulder, were weak to Fairy, and Hatterene is a powerful attacker with Mystical Fire coverage for the correctly predicted Terra Steel Hydreigon. Now, Dapper was able to get that Keyberry activated on Great Tusk going for Rapid Spin, whilst going for Calm Mind. So now what Talon has to face down is a +1 defense, +1 special defense, +1 special attack Hatterene, with coverage to do a lot of damage and Draining Kiss to get back so much of that health. Able to win a 1v1 versus the Great Tusk, barely missing out on the KO with Draining Kiss. It was unfortunate because then the Terra Steel Hydreigon was able to come in and revenge with that Terra Steel Flash Cannon. But we do have to mention, of course, that that Great Tusk could have taken a lot more damage, because that Psycho Boost miss we mentioned earlier in the video, that was this game. In fact, it was the first of 2 Psycho Boost misses on the first 2 turns of the match. Really unfortunate stuff there. for Talon, but really fun Keyberry Hatterene set, able to 1v1 a dangerous heavy slamming Great Tusk very effectively indeed. Now it should be noted that Dapper had another Power Herb Sky Attack Horlucha, but that's already taken a position on a Heat of the Week list, and we don't like repeating ourselves. Repeating coaches, that's fine. Repeating sets? No, 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 no. You get your one mention for Power Herb Sky Attack Horlucha. It was cool to see it again. But the Keyberry Hatterene really took the cake when it came to Dapper's team and gets him second on our list this week. Which brings us to our winner, and we are revisiting a match we've already mentioned. Kirby may have brought a fun set with his Toronto Rap scores into Nova's Bermuda Kecleons, but Nova was not to be outdone, bringing specially offensive, modest Cinderace. Oh yes, not a set you expect to see on Cinderace. A lot of these starters, physical attackers, the likes of Cinderace, Meowscarada, things like that. It's not outside the realms of possibility to bring the occasional special attack on there for some very specific coverage, but this was Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, Scorching Sands, with just U-Turn as the only physical attack. Now, this was brought because Kirby's team includes some pretty nasty threats, likes of Slowbro, Metagross, Glamora, Infernape, all of these things that Nova identified that modest Cinderace could do a lot of work against. Now, when I was watching this match, I genuinely thought that this set might only make it to the honourable mentions, because we look at some of those mons that were identified by Nova. Glamora didn't show to the match, Metagross went down super early, and we did get to see the matchup of Cinderace versus Slowbro going for that Protean, or is it Libero? Libero, that's the one. The Libero Shadow Ball into Slowbro, which did approximately 3 points of damage, and Slowbro was able to start Calm Minding. So it didn't quite work out as well as Nova was hoping there. So I thought that we might have to have this lower down, but we did see Cinderace do some work. It was able to get the KO into Dragonite. Fun note there, it killed it from very low health with Flamethrower. When Cinderace goes for Flamethrower, it comes out its foot. Wasn't expecting that one. But that wasn't the only bit of work that Cinderace was able to do, you know. That other mon identified as something it could take on, Infernape, it was able to do a lot of good work there, getting a big Libero Scorching Sands off and living a subsequent Zen Headbutt, and that was able to allow Nova to switch around and make the Infernape, lots of apes in this match, make the Infernape fall to its own Life Orb recoil. So Cinderace, while it didn't take on all the threats that it was supposed to, it did put a lot of damage into Kirby's team, getting itself a KO and helping to neutralize the big offensive threat that was Infernape. So really good work from specially offensive Cinderace, which takes number 1 slot in this week's list. And that is going to wrap things up from us here. So thank you all so very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. Some really fun games and some cool sets. Is there anything you think I missed, or any orders that you think I didn't get quite right? Let me know down in the comment section below. Always love hearing your thoughts, and while you're down there, check out the description where you can find links to all of our wonderful coaches and the head honchos, leading them hopefully to glory and victory. You can also find links to the rest of our wonderful analyst team. Eli will have uploaded his SPL Center earlier this week, and you can watch out for Val's look ahead and transfer news coming up in the coming days. But that's it from me. I'm going to get out of here. I've rambled on for far too long. So my final thank you to you all for watching, and I guess with that, I will see you next time. Laters.